So what I'm going to go over today is using goals within your budget. It's extremely helpful. It might be the best function to use in here on a regular basis. It enables you, one, obviously to set a goal on what you're trying to build towards, but also it's a convenient way to preset your budget, which I'm going to go over in the next video. And it makes it very easy to go from month to month to set up your budget so you're not reinventing the wheel every single time you come in here in a given month. It's very helpful. So I will talk about that in the next video, but first I'm just going to talk about setting goals and how you use the function. So I'm going to use this rainy day fund as my example category. In the last video I went over the inspector, so if I click on this category, it opens the inspector over here. It gives me lots of interesting information, but it also has this goal function down here. So if I click on goal, so what I want to do is, let's say I have a rainy day fund. I want to build this up over time. I want to have, let's say, $10,000 in my rainy day fund, emergency, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but I want to have a certain amount of money, in this case $10,000, set aside in this rainy day fund by X time. So I want to have this by the first of the year. So what I can do is I can come in here and set a goal, and YNAB will automatically configure how much I need to set aside each month in order to reach my goal, and it will tell me the progress that I'm making in order to achieve that goal. So I'm going to put 0 in here for now just to show you, make more sense. All right, so I haven't budgeted anything in my rainy day fund for the month. I have $1,100 to be budgeted. So if I click on this and I create a goal, and there's a few different types of goals that you can set within YNAB. So I'm going to go through those. So let's say I want my goal to be $10,000. If I click this drop down, it's going to tell me what type of goal do I want to use. So there's two different types. There's planning your spending and building your savings. The really rough description is plan your spending is not going to build up month to month. Build your savings will build up month to month, which will make more sense when I describe it. But if you come in here yourself, if you click on this learn more about goal types, it'll pop up. I'll just show you. It'll pop up this explanation of all the different types of goals, which I'm not actually going to go through. But when you click on it yourself, it's helpful to go through those, especially after I go through a little bit of my brief explanation. You can read more detail on there. But so I want to build $10,000. I want to do it by January of 21. If I click target balance, it's going to say $10,000 target balance, and then I'm going to do it by date. I don't have to do it by date. I can just leave a target balance in there. So if I left this unclicked, it would just say $10,000 target balance. It knows that I want to get there. It just doesn't know that I have a deadline that I want to hit it. But it will tell me, it will track how close I am to reaching my goal of 10,000. It just won't give me a deadline when to do it. But I'm going to use a date. So I'm actually going to put December of 20 because I want it by January. So if I want it by January, I'm going to make sure that I have it saved up by the end of December is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put December 2020, $10,000. If I hit save goal, it's going to pop up and it's going to tell me a few things. One, up here it'll say your goal needs $1,428.58 to stay on track. Down here is a little bit more detail. It will tell you how much your goal is, $10,000 by December of this year, how much you're complete, when you started it, and again, the information on how much you need to set aside. So what I can do is, if I came into my budget and I wanted to, let's say I wanted to just say, I want to budget my underfunded amount. It'll tell me how much I need to underfund. If I click this, it will budget that amount in here. I'm going to go over, so I'm going to actually take this back to 0, but that's just an easy way, once I set my goal up, that in here, I can just hit underfunded and it will automatically budget how much I need to budget for that goal for the particular month. The way that this is useful is you can do it for all of these, which I'm going to go through in the next video, but you can set goals for each one of these things, different types of goals, but goals for each one of these things so that you automatically just hit underfunded and it will fund what your goal is for a given month, and the ways that you can utilize those. So for example, let's say I spend $17.50 on groceries every month on average. I've gotten that information because I know what my average spend is, so I know about how much I'm spending every month on groceries. If I come over here and I make a goal, I can make a goal for $17.50 I can make it monthly, but I can set it up so that I'm doing it by spending. So if I make $17.50 monthly, this won't roll over. And the reason this is important because let's say I put $17.50 monthly and then I save this goal. It's going to say, one, I'm good for this month. I have $17.50 set aside. But if I come in and I only spend, say, $1,600 this month on groceries, I'll have $150 that would actually end up rolling over into July. And in July, that $150 would go towards the $17.50. So when I came into July, I would only need to do, let's say, $1,600 because that amount that was in there last month rolled over, and I only need to put enough in so that I hit $17.50. The difference would be, for example, let's come down to utilities. So utilities in Florida anyways, the power bill is 50% more in the summertime just because you're running the AC all the time, and we don't run the heat, so there's not much heat to be ran. So your bills in the winter, you're just not running much of anything. You don't run a heater. There's really not anything running, so your bill's much less expensive. So there's tends to be kind of wide fluctuations in your power bill. So you could say, like, on average, I'm spending, let's say it's $200. Let me go back to June. You're spending $200 on average. But if this, in June, let's say, I spend $190, well, that $10 will still roll over. But if I set a goal in here, and let's say I set my goal, let's see. So I set a utilities goal. And in this case, I'm going to say it's 200 because that's what I know I'm spending on average, because I know that from here over time. Instead of setting a spending goal, I would just make a monthly contribution goal. And why that makes a difference is if I save this now, if I end up spending $190 in this category, next month, $10 would roll over, but that $10 is not going to count towards my $200 goal for the month. So I'd set aside an additional $200 next month. So now I have $210 set aside and building up in that month. So let's say it's November and I put $200 aside, my bill's $150, December, on and on and on. By the time June rolls around and it starts getting really hot outside and I'm running my AC a lot more, I've built up $10 or $20, $30 extra every month that I will then start to work my way through as the months go on. So I'll set aside the same amount all through the summer, but I'll have extra money that I had set aside in the cooler months that I'll kind of work through. So the difference between the two types of goals are the monthly, this here, let's see, I'll show you. So the differences are, let me delete this and I'll show you. So the differences are, you have a monthly goal. This will roll over to the next month and go towards your next month's goal that you're trying to set aside. The build your savings function, you'll set aside $200. Whatever's left over will roll to the next month, but it won't go towards what you would set aside in that month. So if I set a monthly contribution goal for $200, I spend $150, $50 rolls over. Next month, I'm going to do another $200. So then I'm going to have $250 available. Whereas this, if I set aside $200, spend $150, next month $50 rolls over. Well, now I'm only setting aside $150 just because I need to hit that. I need $200 to be available in that given month. This by date, let me go back. This by date is where you can set aside certain amounts, you can spend from it. You're not really off track. You can use it. I've never used it, to be quite honest. You can use it to plan for things like Christmas. Like I said, you can hit this, learn more about goal types. I've never used this spending by date goal, but you can use it if it's something that you want to check out. I usually would use, if I'm trying to build something up like Christmas, is I would use target balance. I'm going to set aside $100 or $200 every month to build up towards Christmas and make sure I have however much I think I might spend on Christmas or I want to spend at Christmas is what I would do. So that's how you can set the budgets or set the goals in your different categories. And then I'm going to tell you just briefly in the next video how you can use those goals to pre-set your budget going forward. So hope that helps. See you next video.